Okay. Sego Sawaguego, good morning, everyone. Good morning to the council and staff. I welcome all of our people that are joining us online to the Tyendinaga Mohawk Council meeting of June the 22nd, 2023. We have a short agenda today. To some of the items I understand are carryovers from the last council. The meeting will now come to order. We begin our meeting with giving our thanks to the Creator for all His goodness to us, for all that He provides for us, for the earth and all the things that dwell on the earth that sustains us in our life, for the food, the water, for the animals, the trees, the beautiful flowers, for the beautiful weather that we have today. We give our thanks to all the things that support us in the sky and heavens. We thank the Creator for all things that our family, our community, our friends, and someone has borrowed my Thanksgiving address this morning, so I don't have it in front of me, so I'll say the Christian prayer. Sungkwat ni ha ne garun hiage de shi dorun wasana na bondi saya netra andawat. Jinutsere et ni awan ne hohon jage journey to ne garun hiage. Dagu na gut ni saradi net ni saragi ungunadron ni on don de goriosto. De jion gwari wadaro to the gary stones ne rowdy winter oxeron. Ego ac song ne gaya netra na gasat stone sara always on sara Jinyahoe awan. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So do we have guests that are joining us online? Chet? So in case there's no need to have introductions then, if there's no guests. Okay. So we'll have the review and adoption of the agenda. It's a very short agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move.
Moved by Ted. Is there a seconder?
I consent.
Seconded by Councillor, moved by Councillor Ted and seconded by Councillor Law. Stacia, motion is carried. There may be additional meetings that have not been set up yet to deal with the Métis issue, so it's an evolving situation. So I could have a standing motion to go when those meetings are called. There may not be. I'm not sure yet at this stage. But the lobby went well on Parliament Hill. The NDP critic was lobbied as well as the Conservative critic. I spoke with Shelby Cramp at length, our MP, about it, and she did agree to do what she could. I don't believe the bill was tabled on Wednesday as they thought it might be. And so Parliament will be recessing on Friday for the summer. And so there's a lot of work to do to educate MPs why this is harmful to Indigenous rights. I think we have to get away from using these generic terms to identify who we are, like the word Aboriginal and Indigenous and all this sort of thing, because it has what's evolving is a much more homogenized meaning of that word, and the homogenization of blending of rights without due process, and which can be harmful to the treaty and Aboriginal rights of the treaty rights signatories. The legitimacy of many of the Métis claims are in question, particularly in Ontario. There were places people are asserting Métis rights where Métis communities never existed. And it's all, there's no legislated rules to determine who can identify themselves as Métis. So it's wide open. And so that can be harmful to rights and the growing numbers of people that are identifying themselves as Métis. And so really thereafter our land rights, our resource rights, and revenue sharing with the federal government. So it can water down if the Indigenous pot of money that we depend on to run our communities and service our existing membership. So we have to pay very close attention to this issue and do what we can to make sure that there is due process, an academic review of the claims of legitimacy, particularly with the M&O. But there's agreements have been signed in 2019 with the government to recognize, to work to get with the Métis community to deal with these issues, and now it's formed its way into legislation. So with all of our legal advisors and our policy advisors that work at the chief's office and AIAI and the AFN, the chiefs have not been properly briefed on, what's went on during that time frame. I did in 2004 to 2003 when the Métis Protocol Agreement was signed, pardon me, 2004 with Charles Fox. I did oppose it. I felt it was going to create a lot of prejudicial issues to our rights, and that it would be a toehold in the government to have the conversations that have taken place. And Chief Wilford and King and I and one other chief voiced our opinion and voted against it. We were chastised by the elders for being unkind, but I meant no disrespect for the elders, but I felt it was going to be harmful in the long run to the preservation of our rights. That's exactly what's happened. So now the Jason Batiste is in the courts with Treaty 9 to challenge the Métis assertions in their territory, and so we'll have to see what the outcome of that case is. They've spent $2 million in the fight already, and the fight continues. So there was a good turnout of chiefs for the protest. The chiefs that did spoke are the ones where the Métis are claiming territory in their land, like in Chief Scott McLeod's area and Chief Wilbur King's area and Jason Batiste's area. So they were the primary speakers, and Mary Duckworth up in Western Ontario. So that's pretty much what's happening here. When the Métis approached us to talk to us about our Culberson claim, I did assert that there were no Métis settlements here, and that I didn't feel that we had to consult the Métis people. So they did sign off to say they had no interest here when we made that assertion. But we have to pay attention to what they're doing and the conversations that are going on with the government. They have been going on in secret for quite a while, leading up to the agreement signed with Carolyn Bennett in 2019. And I often wonder if Roseanne, when she was regional chief, if she was keeping abreast of it, or in her role as AFN. It doesn't appear so, because there's been no advice given to the chiefs on that question. List of meetings requiring council motion. I don't have any other than what's already been approved. I'll be speaking at the Kingston City Hall today at noon on heritage issues, and I'll be back right after that if we need to come back. I can stay till 11 this morning. So unless there are Métis discussions or that are not Zoom, if there's any in-person meetings, but none are scheduled at this point in time. We may have to make a trip to Toronto to meet with, I'm going to have a conversation with Nico Paul about the cost overrun that will occur with the rock bore on Cedar Glen this afternoon at 3:30 to 4. We're going to have a discussion about that. So on that project, the department provided $4.4 million, and our contribution was zero. So we haven't really had to contribute that much to have water infrastructure on in that area. So that's it. Do you have meetings? Any meetings, Ted? No. Stacia, do you have any?
No, they were, we had this last week in regular council.
Okay, so nothing's come up then. So artwork incentive. There's no recommendation. It was put on by AMSI. So, Jijun Het Unkwa Una. This is the initiative with Coke Bottling, is looking for artists to create a timeline mural that will help educate the history of Tyendinaga.
We referred it because we wanted to make sure that it was something that Callie was aware of and stuff like that. I did just put an email in from Callie, but Shelley included an email as well. But Kelly was aware of like the upside down Tennessee or Mohawk, like that was upside down. Things like it doesn't say QR code; it's a QSR code. I'm not really sure if Take forward.
Okay. So if this is Callie's initiative in their discussions with Coke, maybe they should put the issue on the agenda instead of just send it with a little bit of briefing note. So where is this mural going to be?
I don't think we have any information based on what it is that we have here. I think if anything, it might be ideal for us to have a conversation with Calvin. Maybe we can arrange a meeting. I think the suggestion request for Coke to solicit artwork to put in a mural to partner with council tells me they don't have an understanding of what it is that we do. So I think if anything, it might be a good idea to
Defer it.
arrange a meeting with Callie and see what's actually happening right now.
Yeah, she said that she had looked really closely at it. The email I just put in there, sorry, said that they are supporters, they've done some things, but she also in her correspondence, I believe in the one that Shelley put in there, said that seems like they didn't have time to provide them with names of artists.
Yeah, the other thing, is Coke paying for the mural, or are they just paying for the competition, a prize for the competition? Then somebody else is going to pay for the mural. So we need a briefing note.
Well, it sounds like it actually went to you, so AMZ, I guess, didn't get a chance to maybe ask some questions.
Motion to defer this and have a meeting with Callie.
I can move. We're just going to test out the mic here to make sure. Shelley, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, yours wasn't working, was it?
No.
Who will second it?
Also,
Okay.
till recommendation comes back anyway, at least.
Okay, I didn't get a chance to go through my notes because we've been busy with this whole Métis legislation conversation, but I can tell you the Iroquois caucus had a discussion with Ava Hill, an update on the border crossing issue, the meetings that they've had in the United States and in British Columbia, and the proposed meetings that they're going to have going forward to basically advocate for the recognition of our rights. They decided to hire 2 people, a coordinator and a policy analyst there. Increased contributions from the caucus communities to facilitate the work that the caucus should do. It's a lot of work for one person that's working basically part-time to put the diligence behind the work that's needed. They also talked at length about the relationship between the elected councils and the traditional leadership in the communities, how it's not working very well or very effectively. There was an update on the brief update on the HDI that it was basically HDI's claim was rejected in the courts to have intervener status, but the Chief Mark Hill shared with me anyway the decision of that, and I think I've sent it around to the council. But also he did indicate that the Mississaugas were granted limited intervention status in the case that's before the court. That's pretty much the discussion, and the need to lobby for infrastructure. I gave them an update on the housing initiative. Then I had to leave to attend the housing and infrastructure meeting with the department in Toronto to represent the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure there. And so that's the issue where Canada is looking at providing long-term grants to enable First Nations to finance their infrastructure over maybe 25 years and to monetize that contribution agreement. But right now, the authorities are not in place to do that. It requires discussions and they have occurred in some preliminary way with the Finance and Treasury Board and Indigenous Services Canada. So there will be more opportunities to have more meetings across the country with that initiative, but again, I think that's a ways off yet. So right now there's $350 million in the water wastewater budget in Ontario. It's going fast, so we need to. Our proposal is to finish the design of our systems on the remaining roads by the end of June. If that's ready, we'll start the lobby work if everything's in order. That's the update, but I will give you a written report and circulate the minutes when they're available. If they're not available, she was just in the process of sort of going through her draft notes as well.
don't think that's what this item is, though.
So we'll defer that. I'll give you a written
This
report.
item is about when the assembly is and who's going.
Oh, when the assembly is?
That's correct. So it indicates that it's August 9th to 10th, or 9th and 10th. It's in Ganawage, and we need to identify who from council will be attending. So this is the item. But seeing that we don't have a full council, it may be difficult to determine who's going and who isn't. So I guess with us today, we might be
Well,
able to.
I will go, just let me check my calendar, August the 9th.
I'll check my calendar as well.
It's in my calendar, so I'll be attending.
So we have a local schedule on the 9th as well, then. So we'd have to move that one.
Right.
Okay, put it back on the agenda, maybe the next council day in July, the council will be able to identify who's going to go.
And
So-
then we'll have to reschedule that 9th local too, Shell. We'll put that back on the agenda.
Yeah, that's kind of rushed to come back from Montreal. You'd have to leave early.
You won't be able to come back.
You won't be
It's a
able to come
Wednesday and a Thursday is the meeting in Ganawag.
Yeah.
And Wednesday night is local.
So shall we defer this then for next council to
See who-
change those dates? or
Yeah,
just
when
change the
we
local
have
date?
to full council.
I don't think that's the next one, though. 'Cause I don't think Josh said he was gonna be here on the 5th.
Oh, that's correct.
Well, why don't we, are you going to go, Ted?
I don't have plans on going.
Are you going to go, Stacia?
I may go. It looks like it will work for my, or with my schedule. Maybe what we can do is we can just send around an email. We can ask Shu to send an email to all of us just with the dates, and then we
Yeah.
can
That's
find
good.
out who's able to go.
Yeah, and
And then we can bring that back and then have that be an emotion for attendees.
That's true.
And hopefully they'll answer the email so they
Yeah.
know.
And if they don't, then we just proceed with whoever's able to go.
So I will attend and Stacia tentative, and Ted, you'll get back to us.
Yeah, right now it won't be tentative
It won't be attending. Okay.
schedule, but
So we'll get Shu to send out an email. So,
Yeah.
So Angela, if you're able to follow up, and then we can just have Shu send that. And then
Okay, the other thing I did
See.
neglected with Iroquois Caucus, the financial report, it's still, there was a report prepared, but they said it's not finalized, it's not the one that we should depend on, but I wish they would get the finances sorted. I don't see any sense of it moving from community to community. Hire a finance person and let them look after the finances. Then we don't have this problem with, communities being overworked and trying to do that along with their other tasks. But this is one of the issues that we've had with caucus is getting a financial update.
who's supposed to provide that?
So they do know that we're not
Working on
going to
that.
give any more money unless we get a report.
Who's working on that? Chief? Who's supposed to provide that? update?
She was following up with the finance people.
Which community? though?
It's
Don't know.
Akwesasne.
Okay.
But they had a practice of moving it from community to community. I don't like that practice. I'd rather have it stay at one place and have one party accountable
Well,
for.
it followed the
the
community
records.
of the coordinator, right?
Yeah,
Because when Blaine was coordinator, we had it, and then the next coordinator went to that community, and then
yeah, it shouldn't, but anyway, unless they're gonna look after the books, then it doesn't need to move from community to community. They should have their own financial records.
Still have a staff to do
That's
it,
how I
suppose.
see it, but they may not agree with that.
So I'll second Stacia's motion about having to defer this or
So Head
have
Start,
Shu send
For,
it back.
we can defer it to the next council item to identify attendees to the IC assembly, August 9th and 10th.
there is no item here for Head Start. Can someone's Head Start policy revisions, is the policy here?
It is. We
Well,
have
that's
it in the
okay.
drive.
If council's read it, can we get a motion to approve it if you agree with it?
Have you had a chance to review it, Chief?
I haven't. I've been too busy with so many other things.
so. I'll just tell you a little bit. It's just
Sure.
basically to add the consent form for a speech assessment into the registration package that goes out to the families when they're interested in going to Head Start. And they also took that opportunity because they wanted to add that to the package. They also took the opportunity to kind of clean up a couple of things in the policy.
Oh, sorry, here it is here.
I understand that by putting the form in there, it kind of saves a step and time to get the consent in order to conduct this assessment.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions about this.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. It's here. Is there a motion then to approve these policy changes?
It's the policy update, so I can move that.
Is there a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second.
Ted, moved by Counselor Stacia, seconded by Counselor Ted. Motion is carried. Enbridge expansion. Enbridge requires an MCR for ISC for the expansion project so that the existing 28 permit may be amended to include this expansion. An update note is included which addresses the question raised at the last meeting.
We asked for some clarity that last meeting. Remember?
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever got any answers or not.
Update June 2023.
Oh, I see that now.
It's update to questions raised by council on the Enbridge. Council had a couple of questions when the MCR came to the council agenda. We followed up with Melanie Green regarding the number of signups affecting the 23% charge as well as the $2 million shortfall. Melanie Green has confirmed that $2 million shortfall was covered by the system's expansion surcharge regardless of who signs up will not change. Melanie also spoke to the chief and was asked about whether MBQ would contribute $2 million in order for members to avoid the surcharge. Melanie says that this may not make the best sense. For example, if Enbridge has only 10 customers sign up, then MBQ would be paying much more than necessary. In regards to the question raised about a letter from the Union Gas stating that the MBQ will not have to pay, I have not been able to find anything that indicates this or alluded to it. So what I did ask the department if they would pay the $2 million to, but they don't have any kind of energy efficiency issues. So it's something I think we'd have to take up with OEB.
Well, that's they're asking for people that's going to be hooked
Yeah,
up to
the 23 cents is to pay the capital costs.
for 40 years.
Yeah, for
This
40
is
years.
around. And you do the math. And where's why is it $2 million shortfall all of a sudden? It was
There
an $8 million project turned into a $10 million project.
I
now.
was
That's the question I want.
I
would
had
like to
other
know.
meetings that were in Ottawa away at the time when they had the open house. I did get there at the very tail end of it. But Melanie said that all of that was explained to people that came through, that there would be a surcharge. I don't recall ever seeing anything in writing or hearing
I
that.
don't remember
She said
that.
that she sent stuff to you. Everything that she sent to you had that in there.
Not from the first get-go, I don't believe though.
Surcharge.
I don't remember that from the first. Because they've had a few workshops.
But they did say it still will be
Open
cheaper.
houses.
It still is the cheapest
Oh, I don't
heating source.
know.
It's a heating source unless you have a heat pump or something like that.
Some of the information that they send out there, the savings.
So
I
anyway,
think I think in terms of like long-term planning, we do need to look at other sources. We do need to look at other sources in the future. This is not green. I mean, we're moving to net zero homes, but yet we're using natural gas. So I think it would be ideal for us to have a study to determine what in the future is going to be better for the environment. If we're taking up this net zero cause for building, we may need to look at other ways to heat our homes. And we haven't really done that. So we've jumped on this, seeing this as the best solution at the time that we did it. But now there are a number of alternatives.
Yeah.
So it would be wise, I think, to look at perhaps a study of some sort, and maybe that's not the answer right now, but I think we do need to look at alternative heating sources.
Canada did have an interest-free loan to do it, but either way, a lot of the people that are on very marginalized incomes would not be able to afford a mortgage payment and another gas loan on top of it, plus a heating bill. Because it is a loan, it's not a grant. And so this is really something I think we have to take up with the Ontario Energy Board and their policies, what they're approving.
Do you ever recall a $10 million project from the get-go? I recall $8 million.
I recall
$8 million.
it was going to be an $8 million
Yeah.
project, and from what was presented to me, I thought it covered everything.
Yeah. So that wasn't disclosed right off the bat.
Because I said, would there be a band contribution for any cost over? And they said no.
Mhm.
But saying that, this still gives the community member, you know, an opportunity if they want.
If they want,
Yes.
and if we can
That's
resolve the
correct. It's
surcharge
an
issue.
option.
It's an option for them.
And I think on the heels of that, we do need to look at other options.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we have to.
There should be all kinds of
So a
options.
motion then to approve the section 28.2 permit amendment.
Yeah, I can, see, if you're building new, this makes sense, right?
Right.
But for people that already have a system, this may not make sense because it
Exactly.
costs them a lot of money to switch over.
Yeah.
And the savings might not be there then to pay all that back.
It's true.
Well, some of them on principle are not willing to pay the surcharge because I think, you know, they made like
Well,
billions of dollars in
Well,
profit.
surcharge, I mean, that kind of falls into, I think, the argument of a tax, a levy, a fee. And so, you know, again, I think there's questions about that. And, you know, I
Well-
think we need to be really mindful when we have these projects come to us, what it
Yeah,
is that we're
I-
actually agreeing to. But you're
I-
right. I think there are some hidden costs there, things and overruns that, or overages that we weren't really, I don't feel informed about.
I don't feel.
I feel like we're missing a piece of the puzzle. Something has happened.
So this came out to our attention. So I think at the last minute, but I guess Evangel said it was in the email that there would be a surcharge.
Supposedly, that's what Lisa said. Melanie said all the documentation that came forward had that surcharge in it.
Because I did pick
And
up,
that was shared with the community and discussed at the open house.
well, I did pick up the stuff material they had there. So I'll look at what's in the file because I did pick up.
Well, I
the-
was there for the first one or two, but
And I don't recall reading that.
I don't.
Well, I can second the application to
But anyway,
Okay,
like I
Stacia,
say, it gives,
complete
if
that.
you're building brand new right now and you look for a source, this gives them an option. So,
okay,
But I would like an action item though as well, just to look at some options in terms of alternative heating sources.
okay, I will raise it with, put it on the Energy Committee's agenda for the Chiefs of Ontario to talk to Todd Smith about it. But again, I don't find Todd Smith is very effective at moving anything forward.
Well, I'm sure he heard that.
I think there needs to be some accountability here though, for that 23 cents. I'd like to see some of the numbers. I'd like to see like why there's a $2 million overrun. Like
So
where's
maybe
that coming from?
Maybe we need to schedule a meeting.
And then we need to have our finance people take a look at that too, right? To make sure that it's,
Well,
kosher.
the other issue we need to examine is what is the legal definition of a surcharge and how does it interact with our treaty? Because no levies are
correct.
supposed to be charged
That's
under,
correct.
under treaty rights. So we assert a treaty right, but we need a legal definition. What is, if it went to a court of law, what does that word surcharge mean in legal terms? Because maybe we cannot put up a treaty argument. Hicks Morley invoices. Legal invoices, there's, ending January the 31st, $4,293. Ending February the 28th, to $1,219. The Briar Fox, ending 38/16. And, ending April 30th, $2,538.50. Why would we need to go to, who are these legal invoices from? Employment Matters. What's the employment issue at Briar Fox?
We cannot
think-
talk about that in
Exactly.
public.
Oh, okay.
That would be a private agenda.
I see.
item.
Okay, you're right.
let's get an invoice back to Briar Fox that says.
Well, we invoice them.
Yeah.
Motion to pay the invoices for the Employment Matters.
I'll move.
Go ahead, Ted. We'll second
I
it.
didn't, what's your voice?
Yeah, losing
Nobody
my
likes to
voice.
pay legal invoices. Oh, yeah. I can second.
It's catching up to me. Excuse me.
JFK law invoices, general matters, and tenant issues. Motion to pay these invoices.
Well, I think for general matters, I think we should state that it was $418.
Yeah.
And then for tenant issues, it was $909.
Yes, that's correct.
I can move.
I'll second.
Motion is carried. Summer student open LP request. Current year shortfall for summer student program is $98,083.61. There's a request to supplement the open LP funds in order to run the summer program and have camps for children this summer. Does council approve?
Yeah, then we, like it said in the note, we put in, what, 19 admissions, and we only got approved for 3 from
Wow.
Canada Jobs, which is a significant reduction.
So that might require some sort of advocacy lobby effort, Chief. I'm not sure why there would be such a decrease.
It's the first I've been informed of that.
It's concerning.
And
So
I,
that-
I'm thinking, I'm not 100%, but I thought there might have been something saying that we might have got the 6 from Indigenous Services Canada. So that amount might not be like that would be the top end, but it might not be necessary. The 98,000. Because if we got the 6 from ISC, then we wouldn't need to use Rama, or sorry.
Okay,
Bulldozer.
Angela, prepare a letter about concerning this issue for my signature,
letter
and I
to
will follow. Well, I guess the funds come from, who would we get the funds from? Is it Human Resources Development Canada?
Well, I think you can action that. I mean, would that be something that your assistant would be able to do,
But-
Chief? Yeah,
So it really went off the rails when the Conservatives were in power under Darrell Cramp, because then the MPs decided where the money was going to land. And we had a significant reduction in the amount of money that we used to get. And so from that time off, I don't know if it's formula driven, if it's based on population, how they make those decisions. But there's a letter that comes, this is what you're getting.
Might be helpful to have just a comparison of what we received over the last 5 years, just so that we have that for our
I would say the
information.
last 10 years, just because Darrell Cramp hasn't been in there, this is the second term now, third term.
It says ISC hasn't responded to date yet.
Yes, at the
Yeah,
time of
right.
her writing this briefing
Yeah.
note, I believe, and I could be wrong because I've only glanced at emails over the last few days when I was at strategic planning session, but I thought I seen something, but I'm going to
Okay.
follow up. So there's a potential that there might be 6 of those positions covered by ISC.
So what I don't see on here is, we usually hire students for to help the roads and stuff too. Does that come from a different pot of money?
Not unless, I would have to ask Kelly, but maybe they're covering it themselves. I don't.
I don't know.
Well, other jobs are labor, so they're indicated here. I just don't think specifically it says
I don't know.
labor, tourism, and library assistant. So yeah, we can. I think if anything, we can ask for a list of those positions, Ted.
Yeah, because there's lots of work over there.
Yeah.
That they
So-
could do, and they probably could use the job.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that's missing here though is Cecil should have been consulted as well, so she could bring the finance piece to us, right? What that looks like using the OFNLP.
Or was she? She may have.
It's not on here.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'd have to see.
But in terms of the request, I support this.
Mhm.
We need to hire students and we need to make investments
Oh,
in
it's good,
that.
good for the students.
Yeah,
Good for the
and
community.
for the community
Yeah.
to ensure that there's consistent services. So I can move this.
And I'll second it as
Great.
well, but with just to double check, we'll make
Yeah.
sure we got all our
Will you
Cecil's
second
well
it,
aware. The option number 2, I think it is, to approve. Hire all the students,
Mhm.
and we'll use OFNLP to pick up the balance, whatever that balance may be, because we haven't had, there may be an update to
And that's
that.
your
right?
motion, Stacia, to
That's
option
correct.
2? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, moved by Stacia. And seconded by Councillor Ted. Motion's carried. The meetings, June the 28th,
Yeah, that's next week for local.
is the special chiefs assembly, and that'll be a Zoom call till 3 o'clock. Then we're going to have a meeting at 4 o'clock on Surrender 2041. Then there's local council at night. The 29th,
Oh, sorry, Chief, we're just doing TMC meetings right now that are on here.
Okay,
Yeah, up on the, on our agenda.
July the 5th.
July 19th is a local? I thought that was regular. July 19th?
Right.
Oh,
Right,
okay, I
yeah.
might have a conflict with local. That, I might not be available that night. That's
Is,
my wife's birthday.
Send an email.
Might not be
We'll
happy.
figure it out. There might not,
Okay.
might not.
Regular,
be
but
anyone.
it's local council. Is that when we're having the other delegation that was in last week come in?
Remember, you moved it because you might be going, you guys might be, more people might be going to the AFN meeting on the week of where the 12th was.
Yeah, we were supposed to give us some information on that we were gonna discuss, I guess, in private.
Well, one thing you should do is book your rooms early, because if you wait till the last minute, you're going to pay a premium for them. And same thing with flights and all that kind
You
of
had
stuff.
some information you wanted to share with us, though.
That's in private
remember?
though.
Yeah, we never got to it. That may
Okay.
affect my decision one way or the other, whether I go or not.
Yeah, well, usually you have to pay a fee if you're the chiefs are covered,
Right.
but people have to pay a registration fee. And
Right,
so,
but I think what he's saying is you were talking about providing information which would determine whether he's gonna go to
well,
the
I
meeting
haven't
or
seen the
not.
agenda yet.
No, you
It's
had,
something different.
yeah, no, you had documents that you were going to share with us. We were going to have a conversation last week in private. We didn't get to that. We had to end the meeting early.
It's
So
the
what we-
stuff, it's the stuff you had me pull,
Okay, I'll do it this afternoon when I come back.
or the meeting's done, maybe you can do it afterwards.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
talk about it when we move into private.
When we're done.
July the 19th is the local council.
Put that in my
And July the is local council. July 19th is the regular council meeting.
Yeah, they're both not at some.
July 26th
Yeah, see, I don't have that in there. Just got regular.
is the local council. August the 2nd.
12 was supposed to be the 12th. And I still got it in my calendar, the 12th. Ah,
That's
I forgot to move it. Okay, thanks.
But the meeting is obviously regulars at 9:30 and then locals at 7.
Yeah.
They both say 7.
August the 9th is Iroquois caucus. August 16th is the regular council. August the 23rd is the local council.
Okay.
No, I'm scheduled on the 23rd to go to a Hastings County plowing match opening ceremony at noon. So we might have to change that.
23rd local councils at 7 p.m.
Yeah, so
so
that should be fine.
Should be fine.
Okay. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
So do we have anything in private, Shelley? Nothing in private, then I guess the meeting
You're
can
done?
be adjourned.
So you just have to mark me down. That's a conflict for me on the 19th, the local, the regular.
There's one thing I want to show you.
Sorry, we need to
We need to go in
adjourn.
private. We need to go in private
Oh,
to discuss it.
would we like to go into private then?
Yeah, please.
I would not, I
And
would
you'll
put
have
that
to say
down.
goodbye to your guests.
Okay, if we have anybody online, thank you for joining our council meeting, and we'll look forward to seeing you the next time. Everyone have a great summer.